I'm speaking with Arnaldo Ugarte, conservator technician here at Kykuit, and I'm very interested in what you do here on the grounds at Kykuit.
To work here at Kykuit is really interesting for me, particularly with this work of Nevelson. I would say with a piece like this, we are very lucky because it's certainly quite unique in many ways, and it allows us in some ways to imagine her thinking process of perhaps moving parts. One of the things that I was very thrilled is the idea of how manufacturers also learn to become very sensitive in the language of the artists. And I think that Nevelson, in order to create a lot of the works, people really had to understand as much as she understood fabrication. So she knew collage very well, but she also knew, I'm very sure, she understood the mechanics of how things go together. And in order to please her, you probably have to be, some of the best. And we can see in many of her other examples of works how that translates and how us as the technicians, we become sort of the extended arm of Nevelson.
And it's so different. She's not letting us see any wood grain because she's not casting wood. She did cast wood at one point in bronze and wasn't happy with it. She said it didn't have the freshness that she wanted. So here you have a very different surface in comparison with her wooden sculptures, a much smoother surface.
True. In this particular piece, I find that we have to do 1 or 2 cleanings a year. That depends on the conditions of what nature may do to it. As you know, it's in a very low ground, so there is moss that will grow, or bird droppings, which is usually pretty challenging when you are outdoors. You will see in some areas the paint may be fading slightly. In other areas you will see a little bit of white streaking that's occurring. And this has a lot to do with the metals. It's an aluminum with a high percentage of magnesium, which is considered to be quite light. However, magnesium is a very unstable material, and sometimes you actually see it bleach out. And that's one of the reasons that it also is very important, and these are painted. So trying to match colors, it involves a great deal of research, with museums and collections, to try to get to something that we feel that it matches. Normally, any kind of painting treatment, it is considered to last between 5 and 7 years. Some may fare a little bit more than that. In this particular piece, you will see that there are some that have faded a little bit more than others, and that's probably because of itself. In between, these boxes are actually separated, so we know that there is a space, and in that particular space there's always a little bit of water accumulated. So there are some panels that may suffer discoloration. And apart from that, the sun, as it hits only one side of the sculpture and not the other, it also has a tremendous effect.
I think it's also interesting that she started her career known for carving initially, and then making assemblages of found objects. But then to now make these kind of works, she had to make cardboard maquettes that were then transformed by the fabricators into metal. She had the opportunity to play with these forms and could make variations within the series of 13 sculptures. She also worked in plexiglass in the same period.
Yes.
She initiated a whole new material where she actually could recreate some of these designs in black plexiglass or clear plexiglass.
By choosing these particular fabrications, I think it exposes a lot. Everything has to be so perfect, and I think that the acrylic works are the most sort of naked works where there cannot be a flaw. It's funny because that same thinking, it really translates to a piece that is painted and may not have that same transparency, yet when you technically revise something like this, you truly understand that it is really at its best when it comes to the mechanics and techniques to be used. It does allow, I believe, the concept of the artist to be read with a lot more clarity.